Prepare to enter a world where your expectations collapse and your perspective is rebuilt from the ground up. This audiobook isn't here to entertain you. It's here to challenge you, to confront the thoughts you avoid, and to awaken the parts of you that have been quietly waiting for change. As each word sinks in, you'll feel yourself pulled deeper into a powerful shift, one that doesn't ask for permission and doesn't let you walk away unchanged. Take a breath, steady your mind, and allow this journey to reshape everything you thought you understood. Your turning point begins now. Change rarely announces itself with noise. It usually arrives quietly, settling into the spaces of your life where stability once lived. You might feel it as a subtle pressure in your chest, a strange awareness that something invisible has begun to rearrange your inner world. The familiar rhythm of your thoughts starts to feel slightly offbeat, as if your mind is trying to tell you that the old patterns no longer fit. You try to hold on to what feels safe, but the foundation beneath that safety feels thinner than you remember. The shift doesn't ask for your approval, it simply begins. You start noticing that your reactions no longer match the situations you face. Emotions arrive differently, softer in some places and sharper in others, creating a contrast that forces you to pay attention. The beliefs that once guided your decisions seem less certain, as though they've lost the strength they once carried. You find yourself questioning your assumptions in ways you never thought necessary. This questioning feels unsettling but strangely energizing at the same time. Something within you is preparing to rise. The shift grows stronger each day, not through force, but through persistence. It sits with you in quiet moments, whispering truths you used to ignore. You feel it when you wake up, lingering in the space between sleep and awareness. It reshapes the way you look at your surroundings, revealing layers you overlooked before. You can sense an internal movement, subtle yet undeniable, urging you to re-examine the direction you've been heading. This pull becomes harder to resist. You might try to distract yourself, hoping the pressure will fade, but it doesn't. It waits for you, patient and steady, knowing you can't avoid what is unfolding. Old habits feel heavier than usual, as if they no longer serve the purpose they once did. Thoughts you pushed aside begin resurfacing with new intensity. Feelings you buried start rising with unfamiliar clarity. The shift is not something you fight, it is something you eventually acknowledge. Inside you, a tension forms between what you used to be and what you're becoming. It's not chaos, but it's not calm either. It's a strange middle state, where nothing feels final. You catch glimpses of a different version of yourself, one that stands taller and thinks more clearly. These glimpses both excite and frighten you. You begin to recognize that discomfort is not the enemy. It is the invitation to grow. Growth, however, is never gentle. You feel your awareness expanding, stretching into corners of your life you hadn't examined before. Tiny realizations spark unexpected clarity, illuminating truths you had accepted without question. You start understanding that your limits were not walls but illusions you carried for comfort. Each day adds new weight to your unfolding perspective. The shift doesn't take anything from you without offering something deeper in return. That exchange becomes impossible to ignore. Memories begin to feel different. Not because they changed, but because you changed while looking at them. You notice details you once overlooked, meanings you never explored, and emotions you refused to feel. These reflections reshape the story you tell yourself about who you are. The past no longer controls you, it teaches you. Its lessons grow sharper with every insight you allow yourself to embrace. The shift is rewriting how you interpret your journey. Relationships around you start to reveal their true nature with new honesty. Connections that once seemed stable may feel distant, while unexpected bonds grow stronger. You begin to understand who supports your evolution and who holds you to outdated versions of yourself. This awareness creates a quiet separation between alignment and resistance. You learn to choose what nurtures your growth rather than what preserves your comfort. The shift demands authenticity. Your inner voice grows louder, clearer, and more confident. It no longer whispers. It speaks with certainty you hadn't heard before. It challenges you to step beyond the boundaries you accepted for years. Its guidance feels unfamiliar at first, but gradually it becomes something you trust. This voice becomes your compass, pointing you toward paths you once feared to walk. The shift strengthens every instinct that pushes you forward. Moments of doubt still appear, but they no longer have the power they once held. Uncertainty becomes a natural part of the process, rather than a reason to stop. You realize that transformation doesn't happen through perfection. It unfolds through courage. Every question you ask opens a door to deeper understanding. Every hesitation reminds you that growth is a journey, not a destination. The shift teaches patience with yourself. You begin to see that life is not as fixed as you once believed. Possibilities appear in places you never imagined, expanding your sense of what you can create. You recognize opportunities disguised as challenges and lessons disguised as obstacles. Your way of seeing the world becomes more flexible, more adaptable, more open. You start letting go of the rigid stories that held you back. The shift breathes freedom into your spirit. Your confidence doesn't surge suddenly. It builds quietly, layer by layer. Small victories become stepping stones to greater strength. You start trusting your ability to navigate uncertainty without losing yourself. This trust becomes the foundation for your new direction. You realize you're capable of more than you allowed yourself to believe. The shift nurtures resilience where fear once lived. As your thinking evolves, your choices begin to reflect your inner transformation. You choose clarity over confusion, purpose over habit, and intention over impulse. Every decision becomes a reflection of the person you're becoming. You no longer move automatically. You move consciously. This consciousness brings a sense of control you never felt before. The shift empowers every step you take. New priorities emerge as you grow more aware of what truly matters. You start releasing anything that drains your energy or dulls your purpose. You learn to protect your peace instead of chasing validation. This release creates space for new experiences, new insights, and new strengths. You begin valuing yourself in ways you never dared to. The shift honors your evolution. Your emotional landscape begins to transform as well. Feelings that once overwhelmed you now become signals rather than threats. You learn to listen to them without judgment, allowing them to guide you instead of drown you. Emotional maturity becomes a part of your identity. This understanding deepens your connection to yourself. The shift stabilizes your inner world. With every passing day, your sense of self becomes sharper. You start recognizing your potential more clearly, free from old guilt and outdated expectations. You stand more firmly in your truth, allowing it to guide your choices. Your identity no longer feels fragmented. It feels unified. This unity brings harmony to your thoughts and actions. The shift aligns your inner and outer worlds. You discover that growth doesn't always require dramatic action. Sometimes it begins with quiet acceptance. You allow yourself to change without forcing a particular outcome. This acceptance softens the pressure you once placed on yourself. You learn to move with the flow of your evolution instead of resisting it. The shift teaches surrender without weakness. Your mindset begins to operate on a higher level, seeking meaning instead of distraction. You start valuing depth over ease, authenticity over convenience, and truth over illusion. This change influences everything you engage with. You no longer settle for half-hearted intentions or superficial connections. The shift cultivates clarity in every corner of your awareness. You start noticing how your environment affects your growth. Spaces that once felt comfortable may now feel restrictive, while new surroundings spark inspiration. You become more sensitive to what elevates you and what diminishes your energy. This awareness drives you to redesign your life piece by piece. You begin shaping your world intentionally rather than unconsciously. The shift pushes you toward expansion. As you continue evolving, you sense a profound alignment forming between your values and your actions. You feel a harmony within yourself that you hadn't experienced before. Your choices reflect your truth more consistently. Your direction becomes clearer with every step you take. The shift makes your path visible, even when the destination isn't. The transformation becomes impossible to deny. You feel stronger, clearer, and more grounded than ever. The person you used to be starts fading into the distance, not forgotten but honored for getting you here. You embrace the new version of yourself with steady confidence. You step into the world with renewed purpose and unwavering intention. The shift is no longer happening to you. It has become you. Stepping toward an unfamiliar version of yourself feels like walking into dim light after years in a bright room. Your senses adjust slowly, unsure of what new truths will appear as your inner world shifts. You feel a mixture of anticipation and hesitation as the boundaries of your identity begin to stretch. Everything inside you becomes more sensitive, as if your mind is preparing for a transformation you never expected. What once felt predictable now seems open, wide, and uncertain. As you move deeper into this unfolding space, the comfort of old patterns begins to fade. You realize that the identity you lived with for so long may not be the one you need for where you're going. This awareness brings both freedom and fear, forming a tension that pushes you forward. You can sense parts of yourself awakening that you didn't know existed. The unknown self calls to you quietly, asking you to trust the path ahead. You feel its pull growing stronger. Your thoughts begin shifting in ways you can't quite explain. Ideas you once avoided now seem worth exploring, and emotions you ignored start revealing important messages. This new internal landscape challenges everything you believed about who you are. You understand that growth requires stepping beyond the safety of familiar thinking. The unknown self invites you to discover possibilities hidden beneath years of habit. That invitation feels powerful. Memories you overlooked return with new meaning, showing you pieces of yourself you never fully understood. You begin examining reactions, choices, and dreams through a clearer lens. These reflections guide you into deeper self-recognition, revealing strengths buried under old fears. You begin acknowledging truths you once dismissed. Each realization shapes your evolving identity. The unknown self becomes less frightening as insight expands. People around you may not understand what's changing within you, but you sense that you can no longer shape yourself to fit their expectations. You no longer wish to shrink to maintain old roles or outdated versions of yourself. This shift brings a new honesty into your relationships, revealing who supports your evolution and who resists it. You start valuing alignment more than approval. The unknown self strengthens your boundaries. You discover that silence brings clarity. You couldn't find in noise, in quiet spaces. Your inner voice speaks more confidently, guiding you toward choices that feel authentic. You begin trusting your intuition more deeply, understanding that it knows paths your logic has yet to comprehend. Every insight feels like a step into a wider sense of identity. You begin creating inner stability by listening inward. The unknown self feels closer. Your emotions evolve into guides rather than obstacles. Instead of pushing them away, You allow them to reveal what needs healing and what needs embracing. You realize that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the doorway to a more honest version of yourself. This realization softens your resistance to change and strengthens your emotional understanding. You start relating to yourself with compassion instead of criticism. The unknown self expands through acceptance. As your identity shifts, you start releasing labels you never chose but carried for years. You let go of the roles that limited your expression, clearing space for a more genuine form of self-definition. You no longer feel obligated to be who you used to be simply because others expect it. This release feels both strange and liberating, as though you're reclaiming lost parts of your spirit. The unknown self begins to take shape. New desires emerge, subtle at first, then unmistakably strong. You begin craving experiences that challenge your mind and elevate your soul. Old pursuits lose their appeal, not because they were wrong, but because they belonged to a version of you that no longer exists. You start following impulses that feel aligned with your deeper truth. Each desire becomes a clue about who you're becoming. The unknown self gives direction. You notice your perspective shifting in moments you least expect. Situations that once triggered frustration now reveal deeper lessons. Conversations feel different, carrying new weight and meaning. You engage with the world more attentively, aware of the subtle energies and intentions behind every interaction. This heightened awareness strengthens your understanding of yourself and others. The unknown self sharpens your perception. Your confidence grows from a new source, one that doesn't rely on external validation. You start recognizing your worth without needing others to confirm it. This internal assurance feels grounded, rooted in experience rather than ego. It allows you to move with quiet strength rather than loud bravado. You begin trusting your ability to navigate complexity without losing balance. The unknown self reinforces your inner stability. You start seeing that transformation does not require abandoning everything you once were. Instead, it asks you to integrate your past with your growing self-awareness. You accept that you can evolve without discarding the parts of you that shaped your journey. This integration creates harmony within, bridging your former identity with the person you are becoming. You feel more unified than ever. The unknown self aligns your past and future. The world around you begins to feel like a mirror, reflecting your growth through the experiences you encounter. Challenges no longer feel punitive. They feel purposeful. Opportunities appear in unexpected ways, matching the energy of your inner evolution. You start interpreting life through a lens of expansion rather than limitation. Every day offers something meaningful. The unknown self guides your interpretation of reality. You discover the strength of solitude as a place where self-understanding deepens. Being alone no longer feels lonely, it feels clarifying. In these quiet stretches, you hear your inner truth with striking clarity, shaping your decisions and guiding your path. You no longer fear separation from old environments or old versions of yourself. Solitude becomes the foundation of your evolution. The unknown self thrives in stillness. Your resilience strengthens as you explore deeper layers of your psyche. You confront fears that once controlled your actions and realize they hold less power than you imagined. Each fear you face becomes proof of your rising courage. You begin embracing discomfort as a doorway rather than a barrier. This shift transforms your relationship with uncertainty. The unknown self grows through bravery. Your ambitions begin to change as your clarity deepens. You start envisioning possibilities you once labeled impossible, feeling them become tangible in your mind. You no longer chase dreams out of obligation. You pursue them because they feel aligned with your essence. This alignment turns every intention into a purposeful step. Your future becomes something you shape intentionally. The unknown self inspires creation. You realize that the unknown within you is not empty. It is rich with potential. It holds the ideas, strengths, and truths you haven't yet discovered. Exploring it becomes a journey of curiosity rather than fear. You begin embracing the depth of your inner world without hesitation. This openness invites new insights into your consciousness. The unknown self reveals its depth. Your mind becomes more flexible as you let go of rigid definitions of who you must be. You start allowing yourself to change without guilt or apology. This psychological freedom gives you space to explore new interests, new expressions, and new perspectives. You begin to understand that identity is fluid, not fixed. The unknown self thrives in movement. You feel a new level of emotional independence rising within you. You no longer depend on external circumstances to define your sense of stability. This independence gives you strength to handle challenges without collapsing into self-doubt. It becomes clear that your inner world holds more power than anything outside you. This realization shifts your entire foundation. The unknown self strengthens your core. As your evolution continues, you become more comfortable walking paths that once intimidated you. You develop trust in your ability to adapt, learn, and rise through unfamiliar territory. What once felt overwhelming now feels like an invitation to discover more of who you are. Each step forward expands your understanding of your own capacity. The unknown self becomes familiar. You realize that crossing into the unknown self is not a single event, but an ongoing journey. You continue uncovering layers of your identity with each experience, each realization, each challenge. You no longer fear the uncertainty of becoming, you welcome it. Your transformation becomes a living process rather than a destination. And through this process, you step into a version of yourself that feels more expansive, authentic, and alive than ever before. Awareness doesn't always appear gently. Sometimes it arrives with a force that shakes your inner world in ways you didn't expect. You feel an abrupt clarity, cutting through the fog you carried for years. Thoughts you ignored suddenly become impossible to silence. Feelings you suppressed rise with undeniable intensity. This sudden illumination can be overwhelming, but it also marks the beginning of real understanding. You start seeing patterns in your behavior that once blended unnoticed into your daily routine. These patterns reveal motivations you never questioned and fears you never confronted. Awareness turns the familiar into something sharper, demanding that you acknowledge what you avoided. This honesty can sting, but it clears the path for genuine growth. You realize that truth does not destroy you. It frees you. As this clarity expands, you recognize how often you acted out of habit rather than intention. You see how certain choices were made from insecurity instead of confidence, or from fear instead of desire. This realization hits harder than you expected, but it also gives you the power to choose differently moving forward. You no longer accept autopilot, living as enough. Awareness strengthens your direction. You begin examining relationships through a more conscious lens. Connections that once felt secure reveal hidden imbalances, and interactions you overlooked now feel charged with deeper meaning. You understand who contributes to your growth and who quietly drains your energy. This recognition pushes you to draw boundaries you once avoided. Awareness transforms your understanding of loyalty and connection. Your past begins to feel different as you interpret it with sharper insight. Events you brushed aside take on new significance, showing how certain wounds shaped your reactions and beliefs. This isn't about dwelling, it's about seeing the roots of your patterns clearly. Awareness brings context to your experiences, making it easier to understand your emotional responses. it helps you reclaim control over your story. Moments of realization hit you suddenly, often in the middle of ordinary situations. A single thought can change your whole perception, revealing truths that alter how you see yourself. These insights feel like cracks breaking through old walls of denial. With every new understanding, you step closer to a more honest version of your identity. Awareness becomes your guide rather than your enemy. You notice how often you allowed external voices to shape your choices, or whether through pressure, influence, or habit, you let others decide what you should feel, think, or pursue. Awareness highlights these influences clearly, stripping away illusions of independence you once believed in. Instead of resenting this, you learn from it. You begin reclaiming your autonomy piece by piece. As the truth continues unfolding, you confront parts of yourself you used to hide. These hidden layers include insecurities, regrets, unspoken fears, and unexpressed desires. Awareness forces you to acknowledge them without judgment. This acceptance becomes a powerful form of liberation. You understand that facing your shadows doesn't weaken you, it strengthens your integrity. Your emotional responses start to shift as clarity deepens. Situations that once triggered you lose their grip, while experiences you dismissed grow in significance. You learn to understand the intention behind your emotions, rather than reacting blindly to them. This understanding brings steadiness where confusion once lived. Awareness sharpens your emotional intelligence. As you see yourself more clearly, your values begin to rearrange. Priorities you held for years may fall away, replaced by new intentions that align with your evolving identity. You start choosing what supports your truth instead of what appeases others. This shift may feel uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Awareness realigns your life with deeper purpose. Your self-perception transforms as you confront beliefs that limited your potential. You realize that many assumptions about your limits were self-imposed or inherited from others. Awareness exposes these illusions, giving you freedom to rewrite your expectations. You begin viewing yourself with newfound openness and possibility. This creates space for meaningful change. You start observing how your environment shapes your mental landscape. Spaces, conversations, and energy around you affect your clarity more than you realized. You feel the need to protect your mental space, clearing out anything that distorts your awareness. This isn't avoidance, it's self-preservation. Awareness deepens your sensitivity to what you absorb. You notice how often you use distractions to avoid self-reflection. Constant activity, noise, or escape kept you from hearing your inner truth. Now those distractions feel hollow and unfulfilling. You crave stillness because it brings understanding. Awareness shifts your relationship with silence, making it a place of insight rather than discomfort. Your decisions begin carrying more intention because you can no longer ignore the consequences of unconscious choices. You start evaluating your actions based on alignment rather than impulse. This clarity makes your direction stronger and your steps more confident. You stop living reactively and begin living deliberately. Awareness enhances your sense of responsibility to yourself. You start recognizing both your strengths and your vulnerabilities without distortion. Instead of hiding your weaknesses, you understand them as areas for growth. Instead of downplaying your strengths, you acknowledge them with humility. This balanced self-view brings stability and confidence. Awareness shapes a more accurate image of who you are. The world around you also begins to look different. You see through superficial interactions, illusions of success, and empty pursuits. Depth becomes more important than appearance. Truth more important than comfort. This shift in perception influences your choices, your relationships, and your goals. Awareness sharpens what truly matters to you. you feel your inner dialogue transforming as well. Doubt loses its authority as clarity strengthens your thoughts. Encouragement replaces criticism, and curiosity replaces fear. This new mental landscape gives you the courage to face challenges without collapsing into old patterns. Awareness becomes the foundation of your mental resilience. Your internal shifts start affecting the way you express yourself externally. You communicate more clearly, set boundaries more confidently, and pursue what feels authentic. You stop apologizing for your truth and start embodying it. This newfound assertiveness doesn't feel aggressive. It feels natural. Awareness gives you a voice you once muted. With each new realization, you experience a deeper sense of alignment between your mind, emotions, and actions. This alignment brings a steadiness that feels unfamiliar but empowering. You no longer move through life blindly or passively. You move with intention, awareness, and clarity. Each step feels like part of a larger evolution. In time, awareness becomes less of a sudden strike and more of a constant presence guiding your journey. It shapes your perspective, influences your choices, and strengthens your identity. You no longer fear the clarity it brings. You welcome it through awareness. You become more connected to your truth, more grounded in your purpose, and more capable of shaping the future you desire. Reality doesn't always shift in loud or dramatic waves. Sometimes it bends in a quiet instant that leaves you questioning everything you thought you understood. You feel a subtle pull beneath your perception, as if the world has rotated slightly without warning. Familiar beliefs begin to slip out of alignment, revealing a new angle you never considered. This unsettling clarity changes the texture of your awareness. It forces you to face truths that were hiding in plain sight. You start sensing that the world around you holds far more depth than you allowed yourself to see before. What once felt solid now seems flexible, almost fluid, as though your perception is reshaping the landscape itself. This shift can feel disorienting, like stepping into a room where the furniture has moved without explanation. Your mind struggles to match what you feel with what you know. Reality becomes layered in ways you can no longer ignore. Your thoughts begin drifting into unfamiliar territory, pulling you into deeper understanding. Questions rise that you never thought to ask, challenging assumptions you treated as absolute. This questioning cracks open a new dimension of awareness, expanding your understanding of yourself and the world. You realize how much of your life was viewed through a narrow lens. The tilt in perception opens pathways you didn't notice before. You begin seeing meaning in things that once felt insignificant. A small gesture, a passing word, or a simple moment can suddenly hold powerful insight. It feels as if your senses have sharpened, catching signals that your old awareness filtered out. This sensitivity draws you into a new level of observation. Reality stretches beyond surface-level interpretation. The tilt heightens your perception. The world feels both familiar and foreign at the same time. You recognize what's around you, yet something about it feels fundamentally altered. This duality makes you question what is real, what is assumed, and what is simply accepted without reflection. As your understanding deepens, you sense that truth often hides beneath comfortable illusions. The tilt exposes those illusions with surprising clarity. As you navigate this shift, your emotions react differently than expected. Feelings you thought were predictable change their meaning, revealing new layers you never acknowledged. Joy feels deeper, discomfort feels sharper, and emptiness feels more revealing. Each emotion becomes a message rather than a reaction. You begin listening to these messages instead of resisting them. The tilt amplifies emotional intelligence. Relationships also shift under this new lens. People you thought you fully understood show aspects you never noticed, and conversations take on unexpected significance. You become aware of hidden intentions, unspoken expectations, and silent truths. This awareness may create distance from certain individuals while strengthening bonds with others. The tilt clarifies your connections. Your sense of time begins to feel unusual, as though certain moments stretch while others fade quickly. You notice how fast your mind can shift from clarity to confusion and back again. This fluidity makes you realize how much of your perception is influenced by your internal state rather than external events. You learn to pause, observe, and breathe through these fluctuations. The tilt teaches presence. You find yourself re-evaluating choices you made without question. Decisions that once felt certain now appear shaped by fear, conformity, or habit. This realization exposes the weight of unconscious influence on your life. Although unsettling, it also gives you the opportunity to choose differently moving forward. The tilt awakens intentional living. Your inner world becomes more active as old beliefs loosen their grip. You feel new thoughts pushing forward, competing with the remnants of past conditioning. This internal friction signals that transformation is gaining momentum. Even though it feels uncomfortable, it also feels strangely exciting. The tilt marks the turning point between who you were and who you are becoming. You start noticing patterns within yourself that no longer align with your evolving awareness. Behaviors you once justified now feel hollow, and routines you accepted now seem restrictive. This recognition motivates you to break away from outdated cycles. You begin moving toward choices that reflect your growing sense of authenticity. The tilt reinforces the need for honest change. You realize that facing truth requires courage, because truth demands action. Awareness alone is not enough. You must respond to what it reveals. This responsibility may feel heavy, but it also empowers you. You start embracing decisions that prioritize growth, even when they challenge your comfort. The tilt strengthens your resolve. Your perception of yourself transforms as you acknowledge aspects of your identity you once ignored. You see your strengths with sharper clarity, and your weaknesses with kinder understanding. This balanced awareness reshapes your relationship with self-judgment. You begin seeing yourself as a work in progress rather than a fixed character. The tilt deepens self-recognition. You start paying attention to how your surroundings influence your clarity. Certain environments feel like they support your expansion, while others seem to pull you backward. This awareness pushes you to cultivate spaces that nourish your growth. Whether through solitude, nature, or meaningful conversation, you seek what strengthens your inner stability. The tilt reshapes your environment. Your mind grows more comfortable with uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin seeing open questions as opportunities for discovery. You understand that not every truth reveals itself immediately. This patience allows you to move through life with more flexibility and confidence. The tilt teaches trust in the unfolding. The shift in reality also affects your ambitions. Goals you once pursued out of obligation lose their appeal, while new aspirations rise with unmistakable clarity. You become more aligned with purpose rather than performance. Direction feels less forced and more intuitive. The tilt redefines what success means to you. You notice that your body responds to awareness as strongly as your mind. Tension releases in ways you never expected, and moments of calm arrive without effort. You feel grounded even in uncertainty, as though your entire being is adjusting to this new perception. This physical alignment strengthens your sense of presence. The tilt connects mind and body. As you continue exploring this altered perspective, you realize that reality has always been fluid. You just hadn't perceived it that way. The world shifts according to your awareness, reflecting the growth taking place within you. This understanding reshapes the way you interact with life. You begin approaching experiences with openness rather than assumptions. The tilt enhances your ability to adapt. You feel a growing sense of empowerment as the shift stabilizes. Your clarity becomes stronger, your decisions more intentional, and your direction more aligned. You understand that the tilt wasn't a disruption. It was an awakening. It revealed the deeper layers hidden beneath your familiar world. This transformation becomes the foundation for your next evolution. The moment reality tilts stays with you long after the shift occurs. It becomes a silent marker in your journey, a point where your perception expanded beyond everything you once believed. From that point forward, you move through life with heightened awareness, deeper understanding, and greater purpose. The tilt didn't break your world. It revealed a wider one. Life begins to feel different when your awareness starts beating at a new rhythm. You sense a shift in the way you interpret moments, as if your perception has gained an extra layer of depth. Ordinary scenes reveal details that once blended into the background. You feel more connected to the energy around you, more awake to the movement within. This heightened sensitivity gives each moment a textured meaning. You start experiencing life through a new pulse. You begin noticing the emotional undercurrent beneath every interaction. Words carry more weight, silences become more revealing, and intentions feel easier to sense. You read people differently, not by what they say, but by what they radiate. This clarity sharpens your intuition and strengthens your emotional insight. You feel yourself responding to the world with greater authenticity. The new pulse deepens your understanding of connection. As your awareness expands, you feel your pace changing. You no longer rush through experiences or force outcomes. You move with a steadier flow, allowing life to unfold rather than trying to control every detail. This shift creates a calmness that feels foreign yet comforting. Your thoughts slow down, making room for reflection instead of reaction. The new pulse brings peace to your inner rhythm. Small moments begin to carry profound significance. A passing glance, a shift of light, a quiet conversation. Each becomes a portal into deeper insight. You start appreciating the layers hidden inside ordinary experiences. Life feels richer, not because it changed, but because your perception has stretched wide enough to receive what it always offered. The new pulse amplifies the beauty of simplicity. Your relationship with time begins to transform. You feel less pressured by deadlines, expectations, and constant motion. Instead, you recognize that presence holds more value than speed. You start honoring the moment rather than racing toward the next. This change reduces the weight of stress and reveals a gentler approach to living. The new pulse teaches patience with yourself and the world. You become more aware of the patterns shaping your thoughts. Instead of being pulled by old narratives, you observe them with fresh eyes. This awareness makes space for new ways of thinking, more open, more liberated, more aligned. You no longer feed mental habits that drain your energy. The new pulse encourages clarity over chaos. Your emotions shift in ways you didn't expect. Instead of being overwhelmed, you begin to understand your feelings as signals guiding your journey. You listen to them with compassion instead of resistance. This emotional intelligence helps you navigate challenges with stability and insight. You no longer fear intense feelings. You learn from them. The new pulse strengthens emotional resilience. Interactions with your environment change as well. You notice how certain settings uplift your energy while others drain it. This sensitivity helps you choose surroundings that support your growth. Whether it's nature, quiet spaces, or meaningful company, you seek what nourishes your spirit. The new pulse guides your sense of belonging. Your inner world becomes more expressive. Ideas flow more freely. Creativity rises naturally, and your imagination expands without effort. You begin trusting your creative instincts instead of doubting them. This freedom allows you to explore possibilities that once felt out of reach. The new pulse awakens your creative essence. You start valuing honesty over convenience. You recognize the cost of pretending, suppressing, or hiding your truth. Instead of shaping yourself for approval, you allow your authentic self to rise. This shift may challenge old dynamics, but it brings a sense of integrity that feels unshakable. The new pulse strengthens your alignment with who you are becoming. Your senses sharpen in subtle ways. Sounds feel richer, colors appear deeper, and your awareness attunes to details that once escaped you. You experience the world with heightened presence, absorbing more than the surface offers. This sensory clarity enhances your ability to connect with your surroundings. The new pulse elevates your perception. You begin understanding that growth is less about dramatic breakthroughs and more about steady internal shifts. You become attentive to the quiet changes within yourself, the soft realizations, the gentle awakenings, the calm decisions. These subtle movements shape your evolution with surprising strength. The new pulse honors gradual transformation. Your mindset grows more flexible as you learn to release expectations. You no longer cling to specific outcomes or rigid plans. Instead, you allow space for possibility, trusting that life brings what aligns with your growth. This openness reduces resistance and increases flow. The new pulse encourages trust over tension. You notice your conversations becoming deeper and more intentional. Surface-level exchanges no longer satisfy you. You seek meaning, authenticity, and emotional depth. You appreciate people who bring honesty and insight into your life. These connections nourish your developing awareness. The new pulse refines your relationships. Your sense of purpose becomes clearer. You feel drawn toward actions that reflect your truth rather than those shaped by external pressure. This alignment brings confidence that feels rooted and steady. You no longer chase direction. You cultivate it from within. The new pulse illuminates your path. You start feeling compassion for your past self. Instead of judging who you were, you understand the limitations, fears, and beliefs that shaped your choices. This understanding softens your heart and deepens your healing. You forgive yourself for what you didn't know. The new pulse bridges your past and present. Your body responds to this inner shift with surprising harmony. Stress releases more easily, breathing becomes calmer, and tension loosens as your awareness deepens. You feel more attuned to your physical needs, resting when necessary and moving when inspired. The new pulse grounds your body in balance. You begin to sense the interconnectedness between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Each influences the other in quiet but powerful ways. By becoming aware of this connection, you create more intentional alignment within yourself. Choices become reflections of consciousness rather than impulse. The new pulse integrates your entire being. You realize that seeing life through this different pulse isn't a temporary experience. It's a redefinition of how you exist. The shift settles into your awareness, shaping how you love, think, grow, and move through the world. You feel more alive, more awake, and more connected to your journey. The new pulse becomes your natural rhythm. As this transformation stabilizes within you, life begins to reveal itself through clearer eyes and a more open heart. You move with intention rather than confusion, depth rather than surface, truth rather than illusion. This new way of seeing becomes the foundation of everything you build from here on. The new pulse shapes the person you are becoming. Old beliefs rarely break quietly. They loosen slowly at first, then collapse under the weight of new understanding. You begin noticing cracks in ideas you once treated as absolute truth. What once felt certain now feels uncertain, almost fragile. You sense that your old worldview no longer supports the person you're becoming. This realization can feel unsettling, but it also opens a door you never saw before. The shift begins to claim its space. You start examining the origins of your long-held beliefs, questioning where they came from and why you accepted them without thought. Some were given to you by others, family, culture, past experiences, shaped long before you could think for yourself. Seeing this clearly changes their power over you. Awareness weakens their hold. You feel your mind opening to possibilities beyond old conditioning. As these beliefs unravel, you feel an internal tension between the identity you once embraced and the identity rising inside you. This friction is not a sign of failure, but a sign of expansion. Your inner world stretches, creating room for new understanding. You realize that outgrowing something doesn't mean it was wrong. It means you've evolved beyond it. The falling apart creates space for new clarity. You begin noticing that certain perspectives limited your choices more than they protected you. Ideas shaped by fear now appear small against the backdrop of your growing awareness. You see how these beliefs restricted your expression, your confidence, and your potential. Breaking free from them becomes an act of reclaiming your truth. The collapse becomes an awakening. Memories take on new meaning as you revisit them with a wiser lens. Situations where you felt powerless now look different, revealing how much your beliefs influenced your reactions. This understanding helps you forgive yourself for choices made in confusion or fear. You realize that you weren't weak. You were shaped by beliefs you didn't choose. The past softens as insight deepens. The more you recognize these outdated beliefs, the more you feel compelled to let them go. Holding on to them feels heavy, almost suffocating. They no longer align with your expanding sense of self. Releasing them doesn't happen instantly, but each small shift feels liberating. You start moving toward a mental landscape that reflects your true identity. The falling away brings new freedom. You begin noticing how certain beliefs were built around protecting your insecurities. Instead of empowering you, they kept you confined within comfort zones. Now that you see them clearly, their influence weakens. You replace fear-based assumptions with grounded awareness. This newfound insight strengthens your ability to face challenges with confidence. The old structures crumble under honest reflection. Interactions with others reveal even more about what you've outgrown. You sense when conversations rely on outdated narratives you no longer resonate with. You hear phrases you used to repeat, now sounding hollow or limiting. This contrast shows how far your mind has expanded. You no longer fit into the confines of old thinking. The collapse becomes more obvious. Your emotional reactions change as you detach from these beliefs. Situations that once triggered you no longer hold the same power. You see through the illusion that shaped your past responses. Instead of reacting from old wounds, you respond from deeper awareness. This shift transforms how you engage with the world. The falling apart strengthens emotional maturity. You realize that some beliefs were built on assumptions, not truth. When you trace them back, you discover how many were based on fear of judgment, fear of failure, or fear of change. Understanding this dissolves their authority. It becomes clear that many limitations were imagined rather than real. The collapse exposes the difference between fear and reality. Your identity begins to feel lighter as these beliefs loosen their grip. You no longer feel obligated to maintain a version of yourself that grew from doubt or pressure. You give yourself permission to evolve freely. This freedom allows you to explore parts of yourself you once ignored. The falling apart creates room for authenticity to rise. Your internal dialogue shifts dramatically. Instead of repeating old narratives that held you back, You begin speaking to yourself with clarity and strength. Encouragement replaces hesitation. Insight replaces confusion. This new inner language becomes a foundation for self-respect. The collapse rewrites your way of thinking. You begin discovering beliefs that were hidden beneath layers of routine and habit. These subtle, unnoticed assumptions influenced your choices more than you realized. Now, with deeper awareness, you uncover them one by one. Each revelation brings a new wave of insight. The process feels like peeling away old layers to reveal your true core. The falling apart uncovers the truth. As more beliefs dissolve, new perspectives emerge effortlessly. You begin understanding life from a broader viewpoint, seeing possibilities that were once invisible. Your mind feels spacious, expansive, and alive. You recognize that beliefs are not fixed, they evolve as you evolve. This understanding fuels your growth. The collapse becomes a rebirth. You also recognize that some beliefs were rooted in the need for acceptance. You shaped yourself around the expectations of others without realizing how deeply it influenced you. Now that influence fades as you reclaim your individuality. You stop seeking validation and start seeking authenticity. The falling apart restores your autonomy. Your emotional awareness becomes sharper as you release old frameworks. You feel more connected to your intuition, more attuned to what resonates with your evolving self. This clarity helps you navigate choices with greater confidence. You trust your inner guidance instead of outdated assumptions. The collapse strengthens your alignment. You begin observing how your environment reinforces certain beliefs. You notice how conversations, habits, and routines subtly shape your mindset. With this awareness, you consciously choose surroundings that support your transformation. You step away from influences that anchor you to your old identity. The falling apart encourages intentional living. Your sense of possibility expands as you break away from mental constraints. Dreams that once felt unreachable begin to feel attainable. You understand that your limits were not truths, but learned beliefs. This realization ignites a renewed sense of ambition and courage. The collapse of the old reveals the potential of the new. You start accepting that growth requires releasing what no longer reflects your truth. This acceptance brings peace rather than resistance. You understand that letting go is not a loss. It is an evolution. You move forward without the weight of outdated ideas holding you down. The falling apart becomes an act of empowerment. As old beliefs crumble, a clearer version of yourself emerges. You feel more grounded, more aware, and more aligned with your inner truth. You no longer cling to narratives that dim your potential. Instead, you rise into a new understanding of who you are and who you can become. In this space of clarity, transformation becomes inevitable. A new identity does not arrive with noise or spectacle. It forms quietly beneath the surface, growing in places you rarely pay attention to. It begins as a subtle shift in how you think, how you react, and how you interpret the world. This gentle transformation can go unnoticed at first, but over time you sense a new energy rising within you. It feels like an internal unfolding, a soft emergence of something truer. This quiet birth marks the beginning of your becoming. You start recognizing moments where your reactions feel different from your past self. Instead of falling into old habits, you respond with clarity that surprises you. You no longer carry the weight of outdated fears, and your choices feel more aligned with your evolving values. These changes happen gradually, yet they carry undeniable strength. The new identity begins shaping your behavior without forcing itself. It grows naturally, like a seed taking root. Your thoughts begin to shift toward intention rather than impulse. You catch yourself questioning patterns that once went unchallenged, and you start choosing responses that reflect your deeper awareness. This shift creates a sense of inner stability you didn't have before. You feel less controlled by old narratives and more guided by your expanding consciousness. The new identity builds itself through these subtle mental adjustments. Your emotions take on a different texture as well. Instead of drowning in overwhelming feelings, you learn to understand them with greater depth. You recognize the meaning behind each emotion rather than letting it dictate your actions. This emotional clarity reveals aspects of your growth that words cannot fully describe. The new identity thrives in this increased emotional intelligence. You notice a difference in the way you speak to yourself. The voice within you becomes calmer, wiser, and more encouraging. Doubt loses its power as confidence grows from a place of self-trust rather than external praise. This shift in inner dialogue reshapes your entire perspective. You begin recognizing your own worth without the need for validation. The new identity strengthens your internal foundation. Small decisions become reflections of who you are becoming. You choose peace over conflict, growth over comfort, and authenticity over approval. These choices shape your new identity piece by piece, reinforcing the truth rising inside you. You begin to feel a sense of alignment, as if your actions finally match the person you've always been capable of becoming. The new identity expresses itself through conscious decision-making. Your relationship with uncertainty begins to change. Instead of resisting the unknown, you feel more open to exploring it. You understand that not everything needs immediate answers, and you allow yourself to evolve without forcing direction. This openness reduces fear and increases curiosity. The new identity embraces discovery rather than avoiding unfamiliar paths. You start sensing a difference in your presence. The way you walk, the way you speak, and the way you hold yourself all carry a new energy. It's not about confidence displayed outwardly, but a quiet assurance rooted deeply within. You no longer shrink to accommodate old expectations. The new identity brings a groundedness that cannot be shaken easily. Your priorities shift naturally as your awareness deepens. You become more selective about where you place your time, your energy, and your heart. Activities that once captivated you lose their hold, while new interests spark a deeper sense of purpose. This shift reflects the transformation happening inside you. The new identity draws you toward what aligns with your truth. You begin creating distance from anything that dims your spirit. Old habits, draining environments, and unaligned connections no longer feel sustainable. You release them not out of bitterness, but out of necessity. This separation creates space for more meaningful experiences to enter your life. The new identity thrives in openness and clarity. You see your journey with more compassion. Instead of judging who you were, you acknowledge the struggle, the learning, and the effort behind every step. You realize that your past self did the best it could with the awareness it had. This understanding softens your heart and deepens your healing. The new identity grows from self-forgiveness. You notice that your perspective on challenges has transformed. Difficulties no longer feel like threats. They feel like invitations to rise. You handle adversity with calmness that surprises even you. This resilience comes from the part of you that is learning to trust its own strength. The new identity finds empowerment in growth. Your sense of identity becomes less defined by others and more shaped by your inner truth. You stop seeking approval from sources that never understood your path. Instead, you build your own sense of worth from within. This independence feels liberating and stabilizing at the same time. The new identity values authenticity over acceptance. The way you receive information shifts as well. You listen with greater intention, observe with deeper insight, and interpret experiences with broader awareness. You no longer react from assumption. You respond from understanding. This clarity transforms how you interact with the world. The new identity refines your perception. Your dreams evolve alongside your transformation. Old goals lose their meaning, replaced by visions that resonate with your expanding awareness. You start imagining a life that reflects your true self instead of a version created from past limitations. This vision pulls you forward with quiet determination. The new identity seeks fulfillment rather than imitation. You begin appreciating the stillness within you. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels nurturing, as if it holds the answers you've been searching for. In moments of quiet, you hear the voice of your emerging identity guiding you gently. You learn to trust this guidance, knowing it comes from the truest part of you. The new identity speaks through calm awareness. Your relationship with yourself takes on a new level of depth. You treat yourself with patience, understanding, and kindness, even during difficult phases. You stop pushing yourself through pain and begin listening to what your inner world needs. This care becomes the foundation of your transformation. The new identity grows through self-respect. You sense a shift in your connection with the world around you. Nature feels more vibrant, interactions feel more meaningful, and even simple experiences carry a deeper resonance. You feel part of something larger, something interconnected. This awareness creates an internal harmony you never knew you needed. The new identity attunes you to life's rhythm. You realize that this transformation cannot be rushed. Identity does not rebuild overnight. It forms through countless small steps, silent decisions, and quiet realizations. You learn to honor the process and trust the unfolding. This patience becomes a core part of your growth. The new identity emerges in its own timing. As the transformation settles, you feel a profound sense of alignment between who you are and who you are becoming. You no longer cling to old definitions or outdated expectations. Instead, you embrace the quiet power rising within you, knowing it represents your truest form. The birth of your new identity is not loud, it is steady, intentional, and undeniably real. Stepping into your future feels different when your perception has transformed. The world no longer appears as a series of obstacles and expectations, but as an open landscape filled with possibility. You feel a shift in how you interpret every experience, as if your vision has widened beyond past limits. This new clarity allows you to move with intention instead of hesitation. The life ahead of you feels more inviting than intimidating. You move forward with renewed awareness. You begin recognizing opportunities in places that once felt empty. Ideas spark with greater strength, and connections feel more purposeful. You no longer overlook the subtle signs around you, because your vision now captures details that used to fade into the background. This attentiveness reshapes the way you navigate your journey. Every moment carries meaning you didn't see before. You walk with deeper understanding. Your thoughts settle into a more grounded rhythm. Instead of being pulled by doubt or old habits, you observe your mind with steady consciousness. You make choices that reflect clarity rather than confusion. This shift gives you confidence to step toward what aligns with your evolving identity. You no longer fear uncertainty the way you once did. The new perspective offers direction without force. You feel your emotions flowing with greater coherence. Instead of overwhelming you, they guide you toward what needs attention and what can be released. You experience them with openness, allowing each feeling to teach you rather than hinder you. This emotional maturity strengthens your ability to move through life with balance. You trust your inner responses in ways you never could before. Your heart becomes an honest guide. Your interactions with others change as well. You notice subtleties in tone, energy, and intention that were invisible to you in the past. This awareness helps you form connections that feel genuine and supportive. You no longer force relationships that drain your spirit. Instead, you gravitate toward those who align with your growth. Your new perspective brings harmony to your social world. You start embracing experiences that previously felt uncomfortable. Instead of resisting change, you move toward it with curiosity. You understand that discomfort often signals growth and expansion. This awareness transforms challenges into stepping stones rather than barriers. Your willingness to explore new paths increases. You step forward with openness rather than fear. Your goals evolve as your awareness deepens. You no longer chase dreams shaped by pressure or comparison. You choose intentions that resonate with your authentic path. This alignment brings a sense of peace and purpose you didn't know you were missing. Your ambitions feel lighter, more natural, and more grounded. You move toward the future with clarity. You begin appreciating the simplicity of everyday moments. A quiet morning, a meaningful conversation, or a breath of stillness can feel profoundly valuable. Your new eyes see beauty in places you once overlooked. This appreciation nurtures your sense of presence and contentment. Life feels less like a race and more like an unfolding experience. You engage with your days more intentionally. You notice your internal strength rising in a steady and stable way. You no longer rely on external validation for confidence. Your assurance comes from self-awareness. Challenges don't shake you the way they once did, because you trust your ability to adapt. This resilience becomes a quiet anchor within you. You step forward with inner stability. You begin releasing the weight of past expectations. Old pressures feel irrelevant as you create space for your renewed identity. You no longer measure yourself by outdated standards or old definitions. This release opens room for new experiences and perspectives. You move ahead without carrying the burden of who you used to be. The future becomes lighter. Your relationship with time changes as you look at life with new clarity. You stop rushing toward outcomes and start honoring the process that shapes you along the way. This shift allows you to find peace in progression rather than perfection. You grow with patience and intention. Your new eyes see value in every stage of becoming. You feel a deeper connection with your inner voice. It no longer whispers. It speaks with confidence and direction. You trust its guidance because you've seen how it aligns with your truth. This connection gives you the courage to walk paths that once seemed impossible. You step forward with a sense of companionship from within. Your intuition becomes a trusted ally. You start noticing how your environment responds to your transformation. Spaces that felt stagnant begin to feel alive as your perception shifts. You choose surroundings that reflect the energy you want to embody. This intentional alignment strengthens your sense of belonging. You move through the world with greater purpose and awareness. Your creativity begins to flourish in ways you didn't anticipate. Ideas flow more freely, and your mind opens to possibilities you once dismissed. This expansion fuels your passion and inspires new forms of expression. You feel driven not by pressure, but by genuine inspiration. Your new eyes reveal endless potential. You recognize that your journey is not about becoming someone new, but about uncovering who you truly are. Layers of old conditioning fall away, revealing the essence beneath. This revelation brings a deeper connection to yourself and your path. You move forward with authenticity rather than performance. Your identity aligns with your truth. Your understanding of growth becomes more compassionate. You no longer demand perfection from yourself. Instead, you accept that evolution happens in waves, steps, and quiet stages. This patience shapes your progress with grace. You give yourself permission to evolve at your own pace. Your new eyes see growth as a living process. You become more aware of the choices you make and the intentions behind them. You act with consciousness rather than impulse. This awareness empowers you to shape a life that reflects your values instead of your fears. You step into each decision with clarity and confidence. Your future becomes something you create consciously. You feel more connected to the present moment. Instead of being lost in past regrets or future anxieties, you learn to anchor yourself where you are. This presence brings a sense of peace that enhances your entire experience. You understand life more deeply when you're fully here. Your new eyes embrace the now. You begin to see that every step forward, no matter how small, contributes to the person you are becoming. You honor your progress without comparing it to anyone else's journey. This acceptance strengthens your sense of self-worth. You move with confidence, rooted in understanding, not ego. Your new eyes recognize your growth. As you continue stepping forward, you realize that the world hasn't changed. Your vision has. You see yourself and your path with a clarity that empowers every choice you make. You walk with intention, courage, and purpose, knowing that your transformation shapes every step ahead. With these new eyes, you move into a life that reflects the truth rising within you. As you reach the end of this journey, you stand in a space that didn't exist before you began. Your mind sees farther, your heart feels deeper, and your understanding moves with a new rhythm. What once seemed fixed now feels open, and what once felt distant now feels within reach. You carry a clearer sense of who you are and who you are becoming. This shift doesn't end here. This is only the beginning of a life lived with awareness, intention, and truth. Step forward. Everything ahead will meet you with new meaning, and you will never see yourself the same way again.